Another week. It's funny, me and Bruce, we will. It's impossible to go into like a studio or something and do a show where you're going to talk about stories and stuff, and not talk about the events of the day or events of the week or whatever. And
get sidetracked for an hour and a half.
We literally been talking for about an hour and a half before we even went live now. By the way, welcome, Burnt Out Studios. I'm going to be reading chapter 10 today. Continuing on, I apologize for last week. I forgot my laptop, and so I wasn't able to read chapter 10. But we we rambled on.
Stuff on my desk.
We rambled on for 3 hours on that one.
Yeah.
Just random stuff. We try to keep it story related because I think it's going to be. I think it's just more safe if we stick to stories because we're going to get banned or something. If we start talking about political stuff. It's just really hard not to talk about this stuff. Thankfully, the stories, that I write and that Bruce illustrates, a lot of the there is stuff in there about government overreach and different things like that. So we can talk about that kind of stuff in story form.
In story form, right?
Because
I tried
a town called Liberty, which we still haven't really talked about a lot. We talked about in the first podcast and the second podcast, but that's another story arc that we have in the works, and it's all political type based stuff. But yeah, it's I think that'll be fun once we get into that. I'll read this entire book chapter by chapter, and then I need an editor to help me get this thing published, etc. And hopefully go from there. And then I can read the second book if people like, but I don't know. Hopefully, if I can get these things published.
You might as well. You might find that since they're kind of little short. I mean, I was able to read through it.
What, the book?
That you might find that the novel is putting them all together.
Yeah, maybe.
And it'd be nice,
Big fat book.
Nice fat book, but I probably see that. I would see that.
The technical term for these are, I guess, because a novel has to be so many pages long. This is more of a novelle or whatever.
Novella. Yeah. That's why I see it as, because it. So I sat down to read it, and as I got to the end of it, it was like, well, that seemed awful quick.
Well, that's because it needs to have other stuff inserted.
Well, I know it needs to have some stuff, but yeah. I think you can pick up an editor for just a couple thousand. Although I say that like he's got just a couple thousand sitting around.
Yep.
But
that's just petty cash to me.
I guess we should have bought GameStop and then we could have had a couple thousand left over.
Right. There you go.
Once again, never mind. That just gets down the rabbit hole again. Down the rabbit hole. See, I was going to go down the rabbit hole. Okay. So, I'm going to draw a little. I think I'm going to draw.
So, he's going to draw. I'm going to read chapter 10.
I'm going to use this picture of, I guess you can't see it on the screen, but I'm going to use this sculpture this guy did that I think is pretty cool.
I was going to ask, that's not something you did?
No, it's not something I did. It's a sculpture, but man, it just made me like,
Because when I look at that, I think it's Micno or Lucius. Or
I was thinking Lucius.
Yeah.
But it was just like, man, that is like really cool.
Mm-hmm.
So I was just gonna kind of riff off of this a little bit and see what I can come up with. And,
so, chapter 10, School Days. A year passes. Lucius has learned the Elven language and the culture and can speak the language as good as he spoke English. Everyone at the tavern is busy preparing for the day he will go to school. Jesse traveled to the forest town, purchasing clothing, robes, and supplies for him. Oligri feeds and exercises him every day to bulk him up and make him stronger. No one will hurt you when you are stronger than they are, Oligri exclaims. Hadassah has given him a handwritten book she authored entitled Loving Elven Women, A Guide to Wenching Elves A Guide to Wenching Elven Style.
Gosh. You're like, I forgot I wrote that.
Zinj gives Lucius a necklace with a golden dragon pendant hanging from it. The dragon is a savior to our people. Lucky halflings are given to the dragons, and they lead the halfling away to a better life. Dragons will one day save our people, she explains. Lucius wants to say something, but doesn't want to ruin the moment, and thanks to Zinj for the gift. Izzy and Lucius have grown close working and living together. Jesse has promised Izzy a chance to go to school if she helps Lucius with his language and behavior. Since Lucius is a success, Izzy will attend school and is busy preparing for a trip. Migno stays busy at school and is forbidden to leave the castle without a guard. He anxiously waits for the day Lucius and Izzy will start. Finally, Paul gives Lucius a piece of advice. Remember, you're still human. Magic will never change that fact. Elves won't respect you, even when you are the best wizard, but make sure you are the best wizard. It'll piss them off. Paul's great. Anyway, Migno is standing in front of the Elven city as the city walls as Izzy, Lucius, and Jesse arrive on horses. He smiles, moving toward the trio. I'm so glad to see you. It has been far too long, he exclaims, helping Jesse from her horse. Everyone dismounts his or her horses and gives Migno a hug in turn. Jesse waits for Migno to finish hugging Izzy and then asks, So, what's the news? Do you mean the Woodwatchers? Migno asks. Yes, what of them? Jesse repeats. The king's army hasn't found any trace of them. It has been a year now, and the king is cutting the patrols down to just one a day. Migno says as he playfully rubs Lucius's head. Do you believe they are gone? Jesse asks. I went on patrol with the soldiers. I couldn't see anything anywhere. The woods have a normal energy. They must have run away to somewhere. Maybe they went among the humans, Migno states as he herds everyone toward the castle. Normal energy. Lucius rolls the words around in his head, wondering what he meant by such a statement. He stops himself from asking Migno what it means, remembering the lessons he learned regarding Elven culture. During a normal Elven conversation, it was considered rude to ask questions to elders without spending a considerable amount of time just talking about the weather and other such trivial subjects. So are you two ready for this? Migno asks. I think a year is plenty of time to prepare, Lucius states. I've been waiting for forever, it seems, Izzy exclaims. Everyone giggles at the statement as they enter the grand staircase room to the castle. A giant chandelier lights the room. Halflings, elves, centaurs, dwarves are moving about the castle, going through their daily routine. Centaur hooves clop and reverberate through the hallways of the castle. Well, I guess this is where I say goodbye, Jesse exclaimed sadly. Don't worry, Mom. We'll be fine, Izzy says, hugging her mom. You know, it's funny. I keep on reading this, and there's so many like background stuff that I need to add to this. Anyway, I'll keep reading. Lucius also gives Jesse a big long hug. I'll come visit soon, he says. You just be careful, Lucius. I will. See, like there should have been stuff added to that. Anyway. And remember what we've taught you, Jesse adds, wiping a tear away from her eye. I will. Jesse gives them both one last hug and leaves the castle. Lucius, Izzy, and Micno watch her walk through the castle to the front gate, where she pauses, and they gave her one last wave before she moves out of sight. Micno leads Izzy and Lucius through the grand room between the twin staircases, through a heavy wooden door, down a short hallway to a wondrous garden in the center of the castle. Sunlight pours through the roof of the castle far above them and feels comforting when mixed with the smell of intoxicatingly sweet flowers planted all around the garden. With all the plant life, it is hard to tell how large the room is. Migno follows a trail into the center of the room, coming to a stop in the middle of a giant, perfectly round dirt clearing. Izzy and Lucius join him in the clearing, and they sink into the ground, traveling through the ground about 50 feet and emerging into a dark tunnel with a light coming from one end. They walk down the tunnel toward the light, reaching a poorly lit room lined with bricks. There's a small fire in the center of the room, allowing Lucius just to make out several exits. One exit in front of them, one behind them, which they just used, and two on each side of the room. A shadow moves across the small fire, cutting the light of the room. Lucius squints in the darkness, struggling to refocus his eyes. The shadow grows a little smaller, forming into a humanoid figure. Lucius glances to his left and right, looking to the Micno and Izzy, hoping their faces can tell him whether he is to be afraid of night. Izzy and Micno seem unaffected by the darkness, and Lucius feels a sense of relief as a slight smile breaks the darkness across Micno's face. Micno turns to Izzy and Lucius and says, "Stay here for a moment." He walks toward the figure, and Lucius can hear a whispered conversation taking place between Lucius and another man. I think that's a mistake right there. Lucius can hear a whispered conversation taking place between Micno and another man. He listens intently, trying to figure out the other voice. "Who is that?" he asks, whispering to Izzy in the darkness. Izzy glances at Lucius, looking annoyed. Lucius isn't shocked by her reaction. He knows the question was considered rude, since she is an elder, but he was unable to control his curiosity. Izzy shakes her head at him and turns away to ignore him. Lucius's mind was racing now with questions. Did he know this mystery person? Was it going to be some kind of test? Was it simply a guard? Could it be a monster come to be some kind to attack them? Migno seemed to know him, but does Izzy? He glanced at Izzy again. How long does she expect me to wait? He reached out, poking her in the arm to get her attention. She glared at him through the darkness, the green in her eyes clearly visible. "No," she whispered, trying to be quiet but wanting to get her point across. Lucius gave her his best pleading look, and she turned away from him again. Micno and the other man had stopped talking, and Micno was walking back over to Izzy and Lucius. He came to a stop between the two of them and turned to face the shadowy figure in front of the fire. Lucius looked up at his face, trying to gather some information from it, but was unable to figure anything out from Micno's usual calm expression. Lucius sighed deeply and figured as a way and figured that Lucius sighed deeply, facing the figure as wave after wave of anxiety broke over him. He was moments away from screaming, "Who are you?" when he felt Mickno lean close to him and whisper into his ear, "It's only Kindle." Lucius immediately felt relieved. Lucius immediately felt relieved and stupid. At that moment he felt like all elven lessons he took were of no help at all. He couldn't control his impatience. He only had to wait a few more seconds and he would have discovered the answer. "Please step forward," Kindle commands. Izzy and Lucius step forward into the light of the fire. Kindle continues to speak. "Through these passages you will find knowledge," he says, pointing to the exits along the wall of the room. "Each doorway leads to the next level of knowledge. Beginning students will start with this door." Lucius glances at each door and is unable to stop his mind from filling with more questions. How long does it take to advance? When will I be able to form tornadoes like Mickno? Where are the other students? Will I have to fight them? Will they have more experience than me? Will it always be this dark? How can I fight them in the dark? Without warning, the words erupt from Lucius's mouth. "How am I supposed to see?" he asks. Kindle is surprised into silence by the question. Lucius can't believe he said it, and he can tell he has upset Kindle. Mickno quickly replies, "Even elves can't see in total darkness. There will be a little bit of light, but will be less than you are used to." He answers the question as if it were meant for him. Kindle's face begins to relax as he watches Mickno answer the questions as if it were a common occurrence. "Excuse me, Lucius, but those questions will be answered in time, and that is no way to address an elder." He meant the question for me, Kindle, Mickno interjects. "Doesn't matter. He must know his place," Kindle says, picking up a small bundle of green cloth lying next to the fire, and then continuing. "I have your robes here." Lucius and Izzy try on their new silk cloaks, draping them over their new school clothing. The fit is perfect, and they smell very much like the treetop tailor shop. Lucius ties the inner tie on the cloak and finishes by tying the sash around his waist. "Please follow me," Kindle instructs, moving towards the door he termed the beginner's door. They follow Kindle through the door into the dark hallway. He closes the door behind them, throwing them into total darkness. Kindle reaches into his robes, pulling out his necklace with a small piece of coal attached to it. Lucius watches it dance in the darkness and come to rest in front of him. It bursts into a small flame in the palm of Kindle's hand, lighting the dark passage. The tunnel is very narrow, only allowing them to walk single file. Lucius follows, watching Kindle's bare feet lead the way. Kindle extinguishes the flame, burning in the palm of his hand, and loops the necklace back around his neck. When a light from a room ahead comes into view. The room is lit with torches hanging on the polished gray stone walls. The floor is lined with rice paper matting, which a number of students in green robes are kneeling on. They stare forward at a wall as a number of other students stand in a corner near the front of the classroom. The wall in front of the kneeling students is not decorated. It has nothing interesting to stare at, yet the students seem to be enthralled by it. Mickno leads Izzy and Lucius over to the group of standing students. He whispers to them, "Stay right here." He walks to the front of the class, kneels, and claps his hands. The students snap to attention and focus on Mickno. "We have a new student joining us today. I would like you to welcome them." "We have new students joining us today. I would like you to welcome them." What was that whisper?
Oh, I was like, I was wondering why I was having that. Well, my line was so tiny, I have to do so much shading or so much scribbling to get lines down. I realized I'm using such a tiny pencil.
Cool. The students turn on their knees to face Izzy and Lucius and the rest of the standing students. They bow deeply till their heads are touching the floor in front of them. Sit back up to their kneeling position and turn to face McNo again. McNo stands, claps his hands, and tells them to continue. He walks back to Izzy and Lucius and says, "Observe the class. It is almost over. Your new class will begin in a short while." The class continues as Lucius watches. His first impression isn't what he expected. He believed he would see more magic. These students sit and stare at the wall for 15 minutes. The class ends when Mikno claps his hands and the students stand and leave the room. Lucius looks at Mikno confused and asks, "That's it?" Mikno smiles as he glances around at the other students of the class, who look disgusted by Lucius's question. They stare at Lucius in stunned silence as the teacher answers him without any sign of aggravation. "You'll understand when you reach their level." "But they were wearing green robes just like me," Lucius responds. Mikno glances around again at the students, all of whom, including Izzy, seem to be waiting for him to scold Lucius. Mikno smirks slightly as he meets Lucius's eyes again. Lucius pauses to look around at the other students as well as he finally realizes he has been acting poorly. He looks back to Mikno apologetically as Mikno answers the question. "Yes, but they have studied for quite some time. This is your first day. We have a special introduction class for you." The class is clearly in shock as they hear such a casual response from an elder. Lucius can hear a flurry of whispered comments behind him. As he turns around, the whispering stops and everyone, including Izzy, seems to be staring everywhere but at him. Mikno claps his hands and the students on the mat once again snap to attention. Mikno kneels in front of the class, bows deeply to the class as they do the same towards him. The students stand and exit the class through the darkened tunnel. The students by the wall, including Lucius and Izzy, file over and kneel in front of Mikno, the way the other students had been. Mikno bows to the class and they bow back. "I'd like to welcome you to the first part of your journey. We are here to improve ourselves. In order to do that, we must learn all there is to know about ourselves. The first part of this journey will be to learn about our body. In order to do this, we must use our body to its fullest." Mikno stands. "Please." Where did I go? Sorry. Mikno stands. "Please, everyone, stand and follow me." He touches the wall behind him and an opening appears with a tunnel on the other side. He leads the way into the tunnel. It slopes upward and a bright light can be seen ahead. Everyone emerges into the light. Looking up, Lucius can see the sun through the opening in the top of the mountain. Looking around, he can tell they are just outside the city walls. Mikno turns to address the students again. Let us begin the journey to knowing our body. I would like you to all follow me as close as possible." And he begins to sprint away from the students, and they run to catch up to him. He increases his speed as he reaches the city wall. He runs parallel with the wall, leading the students along it. The students scramble to keep up, but he has a comfortable lead on the students and doesn't seem to be the least bit tired. He continues for 20 minutes as the group circles the city. The students begin to slow to a stop, but Mikno increases his speed and yells for them to continue. The students push themselves a little further. Then, one by one, they fall to the ground. Lucius hits the ground, feeling the blood pounding in his head and the stinging in his lungs. He struggles to breathe as he stares up into the sky. The color of the sky and the trees blur a little as he blinks his eyes to restore his vision. "Sit up, please," Mikno says as he helps Lucius into a sitting position. All the students are in a sitting position by each other. They fight to breathe in as much as oxygen as possible. "Everyone, please take a deep breath and concentrate on the feelings in your body. Please release and breathe out through your mouth. Can you feel the blood pulsing through your body? Concentrate on that feeling. Take a deep breath in through your nose and hold it. Close your eyes and visualize the path of the blood flow. Can you feel the warmth of your body as your heart pumps the blood through it? Visualize the heat. Release the breath through your mouth. Empty your lungs. The heat of your body spreads away from you like a ripple in a pond. Can you see it? Take a breath through your nose and hold it. The heat of your body is like the heat from the sun. You can travel far away and touch others. Can it be controlled? Breathe out. Please open your eyes." The students open their eyes and Mikno is kneeling in front of them. "The earth and all its creatures have a light, an energy burning inside of them. This energy inside of you is your true power. We must learn to harness this power. That is all for today. You will be led to your new homes. Welcome," Mikno says, pointing to the castle entrance. 3 red-robed students are standing near the town entrance. Lucius and the other green-robed students struggle to stand and walk toward the door. 2 of the red-robed students are female elves, and the other is a male elf with his hood up to hide his face. Lucius recognizes him as Zed, which he met last year. One of the female elves steps forward and announces, "Hello, my name is Misty. This is Nat, and that is Zed. Please follow us and we will lead you to your rooms."
Yeah, it's Hogwarts.
Misty is a very attractive elven female. She has the typical smooth skin of an elf, but she is a little bit more athletic than the other elven females. They walk through the outer wall of the city and are led to the right side of the castle to a row of large houses. As they are led by the houses, Misty points at them and announces what the house is used for. This house the teachers use for meetings and private dinners. This house is shared by 2 of the teachers, Kindle and Mikno. This house belongs to the other 2 teachers, Kim and Ike, and these houses are for the students, she explains as she points at the 3 roomy-looking houses. You have been assigned to a house to live in," Nat announces. "You will be staying in that house," she says, pointing to a giant log house. "Go in and someone will show you to your room," Misty says to Lucius. Lucius approaches his new home as the rest of the group, including Izzy, move on to the next houses. The outside of the house is rough and unfinished looking like it was built a few weeks ago and never finished. He climbs up the 3 steps to a spacious porch with chairs placed around it for people to sit on. Lucius knocks on the door. The door is opened from inside by a tall, skinny elf with a bald head wearing a purple robe. He looks at Lucius and grins. "You must be the human. We've been expecting you," he says, and Lucius tries not to show surprise as he glances at the elf's strange colored eyes, one blue and one green. "Well, come on in. I have some people for you to meet," the elf exclaims as he steps aside to let Lucius in. He closes the door and screams, "Spaz, get out here! You gotta see this. The inside of the house is also unfinished and rough looking. The walls have no pictures, and there are no indications that anyone lives in this place. The front room of the house has no furniture to sit on, and except for the scatterings of paper and filth in the room, it is empty. Lucius looks up to see the elf coming down the stairs. He has short, spiky blonde hair, a pale white face, and icy blue eyes. He wears a purple robe and is pretty like a woman, but when he speaks, his voice is deep and scratchy as an old man. I was beginning to think you were a myth. Believe me, I'm real, Lucius answers. The elf makes it down the stairs and approaches Lucius. You speak Elven well, and you carry yourself with pride, but you're still a human to me, he says with a laugh. Forgive me, where are my manners? My name is Spaz. This is my slow-witted footstool, Skank. Spaz says as he slaps Skank on his bald head. Lucius is at a loss for words and stares open-mouthed at the two of them in silence. You don't have anything to say? I can see your human mind and your human manners are too underdeveloped for a simple introduction. Your name is Lucius, and you are the first human student. I guess that makes you special. Skank giggles and moves in on Lucius. I can't see anything special. Looks just like any other monkey, he says, grabbing hold of Lucius's ears. Lucius shakes his head and pulls away from Skank. Are you guys here to show me to my room or not? Spaz grabs hold of Skank's shoulder and says, Forgive him, he has a fascination with primates. Please follow me, I will show you to your room. Lucius follows up the stairs to the second floor. The house has only 4 rooms, and we have 5 students now. We have 5 students now who are going to live here. So we have been told to share a room. You get a roommate, Spaz says as he opens the door to the room at the end of the hall. Lucius, I would like you to meet Kane, he says as he steps away from the door so Lucius can see in. In the room, a muscular elf is doing pull-ups on a metal bar hanging from the ceiling. Kane drops from the pull-up bar to the floor, staring at Lucius with his pale blue eyes. He wipes away the sweat from his shaved head, flinging it to the floor. Kane, I would like you to meet your new play toy, Lucius, Spaz announces. Kane surveys Lucius and in a low, deep voice exhales the words, Don't touch my stuff. Don't touch me. Don't talk to me. Spaz looks back to Lucius. Looks like love to me. I'll leave you two alone, he exclaims, closing the door to the room. Kane points to one of the 2 beds in the room. That one's yours, he announces. He jumps back up to the pull-up bar and continues his workout. Lucius places his large duffel sack on the bed and leaves the room, deciding it is best just to search for a familiar face. He heads for Micno's house, making it downstairs and out the front door, thankfully with no sign of Spaz or Skank. It is midday, and students are walking around in groups, heading to class or to other places. Castle workers are tending to the grounds, making sure everything looks proper and perfect. The elven groundskeepers have a big advantage over their human counterparts. For humans, it takes forever for plants to grow to their full potential, and sometimes the plants just die. But elvish gardeners use their elemental magic to control the soil. They are able to give the plant everything it requires to grow. Lucius reaches Micno and Kindle's house, walks up to the door and knocks. No one answers, even after repeated knockings. He must be at another class, Lucius thinks, waiting on the front porch for 10 minutes before deciding to head back to his room. As he heads down the small flight of stairs off Mykonos' porch, he hears Izzy's voice. Hey, Lucius, I want you to meet my friends. He looks up to see Izzy with a group of 4 other elves. 3 are girls and the other is male. Happy to see a friendly face, Lucius responds. Hey, Izzy, I'm glad to see you. I just had a run-in with my roommates. The thick-headed 3, the male elf announces. Lucius looks at the male as the others, girls including Izzy, start to giggle. You know them? Lucius asks. You're right, Izzy. He doesn't have any control at all. Addresses elders like he's some kind of equal. The male elf says, shaking his head in mild disgust. I apologize, sir. Forgive my bluntness, but how are you on this fine day? Lucius asks, remembering his elven etiquette. I seem to be doing a lot better than you. What did the morons of your manor do? The male elf responds, smiling slightly. Lucius takes it as a sign of permission to speak freely and asks again. So, do you know them? Of course you can't miss those idiots. So what did they do, as he asked? They were just trying to test me, I think, and now I have to share a room with Kane. Kane? The group replies in shock. What? What's wrong with Kane? Lucius asks. The group stares around uncomfortably at each other, and then everyone starts to respond at the same time. I heard he killed his parents. I heard his parents used to torture him and make him stronger. I heard he once chased down a Yeti and beat it to death. That's stupid. No one can kill a Yeti with their hands. Well, it's just what I heard. Please, everyone, stop, Izzy declares. All the stories are just rumors, Lucius. No one knows the real story, she replies. Anyway, I was saying I wanted you to meet my friends. This is Sheena, Kate, Kara, and the handsome one is Max. Sheena, Kate, and Kara look like the typical skinny, fair-skinned elven girls. They are dressed in red robes. Max is in a purple robe, has hair that hangs down to his lower back, sparkling blue eyes, and is tall and skinny. Max is a cousin of the king. So he is related to me, Izzy adds. So he is also related to me, Izzy adds. It was good to meet you, the 3 girls say at the same time. Shouldn't we be going? Max nods his head in agreement and answers, Yeah, let's go. Yeah, let's go, Izzy. Enjoy the freak show at your house. If you think Kane is bad, wait till you meet the other monster. Where are you going, Izzy? Lucius asks as the group starts to walk away. We're going into the forest to have some fun, Izzy responds as she walks away backwards. But we aren't allowed to leave the castle grounds. Don't worry, Lucius. I'll see you later, she says, turning around and running to catch up with the group. Lucius sighs, realizing he's alone again. He stares drearily at his house and slowly walks back. It is thankfully empty when he enters. Even his room shows no sign of his horrible roommate. He spends the rest of the day lying in his bed, and then he falls asleep without realizing it. Chapter 11. Yay. Sometimes I think the only way to edit a book is to actually read it out loud like this.
Yeah.
But I should be making little notes as
That's what editors do.
I don't know. I've never seen anybody edit a book.
Yeah. You gotta read it.
Well,
I don't know if you read it out loud.
It's better if you read it out loud, I think.
I think it's probably better for you to read it out loud because it doesn't allow you to pass over stuff that you think is there.
Right.
That you think you wrote, but
right.
An editor, I'm sure, they don't know
what was in my head.
Matter, yeah.
Right. I mean, there's so much background visuals that I need to add in there and stuff. But yeah. Other than that, I mean, it gives you an idea of where I was going. More introduction.
Well, this is definitely a different style of Lucius than I've done before.
What, the picture?
Yeah.
Zoom in on it, so... I didn't necessarily want to look over your shoulder, I just want to see. There we go. Nice. Yeah, what happened to his hair?
Right. Well, I love kind of that feel to it, you know what I mean? I kind of... And...
But his physique looks the same.
Yeah,
sure.
But it's still a little bit thicker than what I have been doing.
Well,
I haven't been doing it quite as thick.
He's not skinny like an elf, he's a human.
Yeah. What I want to do, what I was thinking about, I was trying to do it here, it's so small, it's hard to get these in. But I want to get like, do a search on Stallone for Expendables. So I can get, well, he's so veiny.
Yes, he is.
Because of his age. And since he's older, I would love to get that in.
Partially his age, but also you can get those veins to pop if you dehydrate yourself and stuff like that. But yeah. He looks good.
Yeah?
Yep. How old is he?
I don't know. You know, that's the one thing I was talking about in the story. I had this story idea that, because you talk about, well, we know that Landon saves him 2 or 3 times.
When he's younger, yes.
I know he saves him when he's younger.
Mm-hmm.
But I almost had the idea that he saved them again. Well, we're trying to have this idea of passage of time.
Right.
And in my idea was that they had a battle. So somewhere in book 5, we'd have a great battle, or book 4.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe not, right at the beginning. Maybe it happens, this great battle, and he's dying because everything's being consumed, and Len uses the life element while he's using the death. You know, he's propagating his own life. He's using all those souls to make him almost immortal to a degree. And just as he sees Lucius about to die down there, he imparts a bunch of souls into him, almost to the point where he regresses him back to maybe 30 or 40, or actually just physically maybe in his 50s. And then, but he's got so much life force in him that we can jump 300 years into the future or something.
Well, I mean,
you know
the one thing that you can say, Lucius would be, if you have a person that can control their energy, they're going to have a longer lifespan anyway, because he can heal himself, he can, et cetera, et cetera. So
Okay.
he's going to be a long-lived person anyway.
All right.
Maybe
well,
not.
That's fine.
Maybe not elf
right
years, but
well, I was just trying to find a way that he wasn't abusing the life energy or abusing. He wouldn't. I can understand doing some of that, but we're still. So I was trying to get it out far enough in the aging process that the idea of fixing time is alien to everybody. I mean, they've kind of grown used to the world they're living in.
right.
And instead of just a few years, even still, I don't know. Maybe that's too much time.
I'm just not exactly sure what the importance of that all was.
Well, you wanted to show how Lan was manipulating time through his religion.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yes, I mean.
And
yeah.
And the only other thing I could think about doing was, or the idea was, as he goes back and changes something, time around him all shifts.
We'll see.
Maybe Luce is able to put up a bubble or something that time is altering outside of him but not inside the bubble, and then when he stops, he's traveled in the future but he hasn't changed. My thing was I was just trying to figure out how to age him but not keep him so old that he can't do anything.
Right.
I mean, at some point, won't he be able to learn just roll over him because he's so old?
No.
Okay. He is human. He's not helping.
Because, even as your body breaks down, his ability to control the elements wouldn't deteriorate. If you were to see him in the aura view that I talk about, he would just be glowing. You'd see him across the country. He's the bright shining light.
He's a bright shining light.
Mm-hmm. That's kind of funny because we could I wonder what Len's aura would look like. It should look different than his.
Right.
It should be powerful, but at the same time, different, darker, something.
It should look powerful and in its own right beautiful.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, that's
easier. What's Yoda say about the dark side? It's easier, it's simpler, more seductive, but
right. Oh yeah, I like that picture.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then I don't know why, but just for kits and giggles, the staff. But so you talk about him at the end with him and Lan. That could be an interesting thing that he fights with that and Lan fights with. Or maybe both swords.
It'd be funnier if during the fight he just starts pulling out guns. No, Lucius.
Oh, Lucius. Actually, what would be
clang, 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 bang, bang, bang.
So Lan. See, we shouldn't talk about this on the stream, but but we have been getting views, and we appreciate you guys watching. We really do. It'd be cool. So, spoilers. But say in that time bubble that Lan forms, right?
Right.
They're fighting, wham, wham, wham. Lan gets cracked. falls back, rolls, comes up, and he's at the edge of the bubble. And he's able to stick his hand out of the bubble.
Let's grab something.
Come on, that'd be awesome.
That would be.
I mean, he cheating, right?
Yeah.
Because that's what bad guys, they cheat.
Right.
And that'd be just pulls out. He's just like ching ching or something, you know, or rolling, jumping, and
yeah, it's hard to. I mean, even though I wrote a general outline for that fight, it's hard to figure out how to make that epic.
Well, that you know, what I was just, he does it a couple of times. He's getting shredded, or whatever. Maybe he does it one too many times towards the sliver open, and that's where.
Because part of me actually has thought about having.
And
somebody else interfere.
Well, what would be interesting is what if it
aliens
form a crack or something, and it was just enough. This is kind of corny, but stick his finger, and then he's in touch with the elements, and he takes all the bullet metal in him, forms a staff, and runs Len through with it.
Nice. But no, I mean, I've actually thought of maybe having the aliens involved in it.
Yeah. I kind of like that idea. That's kind of interesting.
Well, they're making a staff.
Or something.
Yeah.
I mean, just kind of, it's like, because he just needs to get in touch with the natural world again, and then all of a sudden he can.
Because
you know, maybe he's standing over the top of him or something, you know, and he's laying back like this and doesn't realize, and he just pokes his finger out and.
Because the thing that I wonder with the aliens, because the aliens have the technology to teleport, and they use it to their advantage in combat. You know, it's hard to shoot a target that's everywhere all at once, you know, keeps jumping around. And I often wonder, you know, the nerd part of me wonders the technology to teleport and the technology to jump into time. I mean, I was wondering if there was some relationship between those two.
Well, yeah, it should be, right?
Because if you're thinking about the Marvel way that they explain it for Nightcrawler. You know, he literally to teleport, he shifts into an alternate dimension, walks the whatever distance, and then reappears or reshifts back. I kind of wonder if that's what Len is doing when he travels in time. Is he shifting into a different dimension? I mean, this is very nerdy, and it's one of those things that I love to geek out about. But you know, time travel. You know, when you start to look at it in Marvel terms or whatever, is they have the multiverse. You know, you're really not traveling back in time necessarily. You're kind of shifting into an alternate timeline, more or less. But you know, anyway, if you think about it too long, you start to go cross-eyed, and you know.
Well, if you think about it too long, you don't end up not using it.
Right.
But
I, you know,
I just keep it simple.
Yeah.
Just jumping time. And then, but teleportation is like a cousin to it.
Right.
Jumping.
Well, I mean, you know, spoiler alert. The aliens are here because they know that there is a temporal being, as they call him, that has caused all this, and they have tracked him down through the universe to this planet to kill it. So that's another reason that I sometimes think it would be cool to have them involved in the final fight, because I'm not sure if Lucius should be more powerful than Lynn. You know, that's
well,
it just seems cliche that he would, win the fight without any help.
Well, usually you have the bad guy, if they're more powerful, they lose through hubris, right?
Right.
So that would almost, that's like, what my idea was, Lucius doesn't beat him because he's more powerful. He beats him because his need to destroy Lucius led to himself being destroyed.
Right.
You know what I mean? His need to destroy him, made the bubble unstable, which allowed him to get access to the elements or something, or some type of thing. I don't know.
Yeah.
Or you could even do something where he's lying up against the bubble, and Lens comes in to destroy him, and something comes through the bubble and kills him, see, because he allowed a crack.
Right. Yeah. I don't know. Still haven't written it. I mean, general outline, basically. But that's the wonderful thing. Is when I have all this time to think of something perfect.
It's kind of like it's fascinating how you, in thinking about that, I would say it would be interesting to have him not completely dead, but dying, and the bubble fades and everybody's standing around him, and then there's a scene that happens, and it's amazing how I went right to the end of the prequels with Vader and Obi-Wan, and you could imagine it's like Len saying, "Save me, save me! You have the power. Heal me, heal me, heal me." And he's like, "No, I can't do that. And he's like, that whole turn of like, "Hey, Chow," that. But it was visceral. It was amazing how.
Right. Too bad it wasn't a better actor.
Yeah, actually, it's not even that. I think he failed it at getting their relationship tighter,
right,
more bro-ish.
Right.
You're my brother, but yet he always acted like he was his Padawan.
Right.
He always put him down. Now, if he would have put him down like an older brother does to a little brother,
right,
he always has to win the race. He always has to finish off the bad guy before you. You know what I mean? Just little things like that. Just never letting him ahead. Then, at the end, it's like, but, no, to see him go through the pleading, the anger, all that stuff.
The stages of grief.
Well, yeah, kind of just whatever. And then, and his showing of his true colors, you know what I mean?
Right.
It'd be interesting. And yeah.
I just wish in that movie that they would have actually shown him killing all those little kids. That would have been the first time in a movie. Ever.
I don't think you can.
Yep.
know, and I like the expanded universe in Star Wars, the other stuff that I read, because it never seemed to have to go back and fix things. This is one problem about doing prequels, you know, and things. It's like, oh, we, you know, do a Han Solo movie. Well, as much as I want to see Han Solo, I know he will never die in the movie. No matter how much peril you put him in. How is he going to get out of this? I don't care. Because I know he's going to get out of it. It's like, I don't care.
Right.
I know other people love that stuff, but I didn't. It's like, there's no stakes.
Right.
There seems like there is, but there isn't.
Right.
He has to figure out something.
Right.
Because he has to be over here, you know, or stuff, you know. And then this whole, you know, the retconning, you create something, it's like, oh, wait, now we got to change. Because we made this cool. We never really explained that. It's like, so annoying.
It reminds me of that, did you ever see, I mean, I know you've seen it, but do you remember Kick-Ass?
Mm-hmm.
When he's narrating the scene where they're burning, you know, what's his name, and beating the crap out of him with baseball bats, and he's like, and if you're one of those assholes that are at home saying, well, I know you're not going to die because you're the one that's narrating this, fuck you.
It's only the truth. You know? So this whole stuff with, then they have to go back and try to, all this conspiracy, these people out there, that everything always has to, I hate the idea of Rey having to be a Kenobi.
Oh.
Whatever, you know, it's like,
Right.
You know, yeah, he was in love with that Mandalorian chick, but then he became a Jedi. It's like, he took his vows and went and became a Jedi. It's like,
Such a nerd.
Can't a guy just be honest to his word?
Right.
You know what I mean? No, it's gotta have the love child. No! Not if he was a true Jedi, which he was.
Right.
He wouldn't have broken those vows.
Right.
But, stuff just drives me nuts. She has to be a Kenobi. No, she doesn't.
Alright.
I thought her being a Palpatine was fine. I still wanted her to be a Solo. I thought that was a great storyline that somebody came up with. It made the most sense out of it than anything to me. She's pregnant with her. Just as Kylo goes off the deep end and she hadn't told Han yet that she was pregnant, and then she goes and hides the kid.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I thought that was
I'm,
that would have made her and Han's connection when they met, like,
I just don't understand
pure.
why it has to be connected with anybody.
Well, it doesn't, but it's just like they told us she was connected to somebody.
Right.
And so that's the problem they ran into with the second movie. That's the reason why they got so much heat. But you said she was gonna. And I said, oh, not really. No.
Well,
You know what that's called? It's called a sucker punch.
just the
And you know what people don't like? People who do sucker punches.
yeah. But you know what's funny is just for
It's in
this will shock all the people that are watching. I didn't watch any of those movies.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I don't know.
I
I watched that one.
I didn't watch the last one until it came out on video.
Yeah, they just don't interest me. I did watch Solo, but that's about it. Yeah, but I don't know.
I would have liked Solo without Han and.
Have you watched any of the WandaVision?
Calrissian in it. Yeah.
My kids, every time I go over just to see my kids, they force me to watch the latest WandaVision.
Yeah.
It's actually pretty cool.
You know enough Avenger stuff to understand what's going on?
Oh, yeah. I mean...
I had to look up what sword was.
When they first started doing the thing, I almost immediately knew what was going on because they've actually done a couple storylines in Marvel where Wanda creates these worlds that she's unaware of, you know.
Oh, really?
Yeah, she's got that much power. And, you know, and if you remember back in the first Avengers, you know, she'd put crap into people's minds. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I know that. It's just that we see the Hydra symbol pop up.
Yep.
So, is she doing it on purpose?
Right.
She seems to be because she's controlling.
Yes.
But yet, the Hydra thing was there, which was very fascinating. And then there's the whole Mojo character.
Right.
To think about too.
Right.
I mean, have they gotten to the point where they can pull out Mojo? I think so. It seems like it.
I mean, they had Shatterstar in the Deadpool movies for about 5 seconds.
Yeah, that was funny.
And then he floated into the helicopter and that was great. He's like, "Oh, I'm from Mojo World. We're just better at everything than you guys."
But yeah, you know, so there's that. There's that aspect of it, and then that was Monica Rambeau,
right?
Which is this how they're gonna explain how she gets her
Captain Marvel stuff?
Captain Marvel powers?
No idea. I don't know where they're going with this. I mean, I knew, like I said, I knew almost immediately that it had to be something that Wanda was doing. You know, some kind of break with reality type thing. Because Vision is dead.
Right.
You know, and I can imagine that she might have been so distraught over that she created this perfect world where she's married to him, you know. But yeah, I don't know where they're going past that, because that's what I figured that the whole thing was about was, you know, she had created this world where her and Vision could be happy forever, but things keep on trying to break through, you know, and bring her back to reality, which I don't know if she wants to come back to reality. I mean, because reality sucks. Well, you know,
anytime somebody tries to break her,
right,
she
protects them. Yeah,
she puts it back into the dream world.
Right.
Yet the only where she doesn't break was with the Hydra thing.
Right.
And that's fascinating.
Yeah, so far.
Unless...
Yeah, because, I mean, when Monica Rambeau said, you know, something about Ultron, she threw her the hell out.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Makes me wonder what they're going to do with the Loki one. That's supposedly coming too, isn't it?
I don't know.
I thought they're supposedly did 4.
I have no idea. I mean, if it wasn't for my kids, I would have never known this thing existed.
I think this is all phase 5, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think so.
By the way, your microphone fell over.
Oh, it did. I'm sorry.
No big deal. I'm sure they can still hear you. But yeah, it's
phase 5.
It's nice that you know, my kids are making me watch this stuff because I
don't understand why they're doing.
I don't even know what channel it's on.
Fantastic Four again, but whatever.
They're never going to get this right. You know that.
There's Captain Marvel 2, Blade,
Fantastic Four,
Spider-Man, Sinister 6.
That sounds cool.
Black Panther and Namor.
Why would they? I don't want to know.
I know why, but.
But.
And then another Miss Marvel.
Aquaman from DC and Namor.
Oh, that's the other girl. Oh, that's gonna be
so stupid.
Nova. And the Avengers, New Avengers. Oh gosh.
They're gonna try doing Nova.
Yeah, it looks like. I don't know. Yeah, Nova. Age of Galactus.
Nova.
Avengers: Age of Galactus.
That's kind of cool. But Nova is kind of like Marvel's Superman type thing. I mean, he's ultra powerful. I don't know what they're trying to do. Namor.
Where's the Disney Plus shows? Hawkeye. That's supposed to be in there, I thought. Oh, it's Moon Knight. That's right.
Mm-hmm. Thing is, I don't know a whole lot about Moon Knight because anytime I ever saw him, it was because he was in Daredevil.
X-Force.
That's Deadpool.
That can't be right. Well, X-Force should be Cable, but it should have Cable and them who are fighting against Cyclops and them.
Mm-hmm.
The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. WandaVision, right. So we were supposed to have already gotten the Falcon and Winter Soldier, but we didn't.
Yeah.
We didn't get the Black... Oh, that's what it was. It was Shang-Chi, The Legend of the Ten Rings.
I've actually... I read some of those when I was growing up.
And then we're supposed to get WandaVision, Loki, and a Hawkeye movie, but...
These are all TV shows, or these are all movies?
Loki's a TV show, like WandaVision is.
And Black Widow is supposed to be a movie.
Movie, yeah.
And I don't know whatever happened with that.
Well, they wanted to... They're still trying to theatrically release it because they want the money for it, but...
Right.
I don't know. Some of the stuff I don't...
This whole COVID thing kind of...
I don't know if they're just making stuff up. Black Panther and White Tiger.
I don't know anything about the White Tiger.
Me neither. I remember Shang-Chi now. And the Hawkeye thing. Loki. So I know that Hellstorm. That'd be pretty interesting. The Moon Knight wouldn't be interesting. They had an interesting Moon Knight show on that... or book where he couldn't tell if he was crazy or a superhero.
The thing that I think would be kind of cool, if they're bringing all this stuff back, why didn't they choose to bring back bring Cloak and Dagger to life?
Oh, that was right there. They did on TV show. It was horrible.
Oh, okay.
She-Hulk. They did a TV show on.
But Cloak and Dagger had their powers and everything?
Yeah, but the problem was I never got to that part because they were two shitty people.
What do you mean?
Before they became Cloak and Dagger,
right?
They're just horrible, self-centered
scumbags.
And I was like, I don't give a rat's ass about these people.
Right.
Fuck them. I ain't gonna watch this. I was like, episode 1, okay, they're gonna turn. No. Episode 2, they're still shitty. Episode 3, yeah, forget it. I turned it off. It's like, if they're not gonna amend their ways and just go and then screw this, I'm not gonna watch a show about crappy people.
Right.
I'm done with those shows about crappy assholes.
Well, that was one of the reasons that this might get me in trouble. That was one of the reasons that one of the biggest musicals that everybody's supposed to love so much, and it was based on Les Miserables, but it's Rent.
Oh, Rent. Yeah.
And I remember when they turned that into a movie, and everybody went to go watch that. I went to go watch it, and the very first song, the very first thing is it's a song about living in the moment. Don't think about tomorrow, and I'm thinking to myself, well, that's why you guys are living in a fucking slum. Because you don't make a plan to get out of the goddamn slum. And so, and that was pretty much the attitude throughout the whole movie was, this selfish, don't plan type of attitude. And
Right.
I'm thinking, philosophically, I can't watch this movie, so I stopped watching it.
Exactly. So there's a lot of stuff like that. I'm done supporting that type of stuff. I'm done supporting shitty ass people being just shits. So I just said I'm not gonna watch you anymore. And they were just horrible. They were just horrible people. I was like, how are these superheroes?
Right.
Well, they changed. I guess they didn't change fast enough.
Right.
For me to care about them. It was the same way with it wasn't that they're crappy. It was just there's a great movie, a great limited series graphic novel called The Runaways.
I remember that.
It's a great little story to go read. Go read it. Don't watch the show. The show was horrible. The show, everything that made the book amazing, the show ruined. It was slow and just, you didn't care about any of these kids.
Mm-hmm.
A bunch of kids who parents get together all the time and they grew up, and you just you're kind of forced to be friends because your parents always get together.
Right.
And I mean, you're technically friends, but you're not like friends, but you're friends. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And then they're in their mansion. They find an actual secret passage, and find out their parents are all super villains. And they're like, no, not just super villains, but like the A-listers, and you're like, and they run away from them, and they're on the run. And then, as they're on the run, they start sparking powers between some of them, and some of them, if their parent was a gadget user,
they knew how to.
Well, if their parents in tech, they learn tech,
Right.
So then they start teching stuff, and they start doing some things, and to fight against them. But it's a great book. Great story, but the TV show I think was on Hulu is just
Awful.
boring. It's just boring. There's no excitement to it.
Yep.
In fact, even the last few Marvel movies, I just kind of sat not really excited about them. Even Endgame was kind of like. Everybody cheered when Captain America picked up Thor's hammer, and I went, no!
Why? Because he does it in the comic books.
I don't care. It's Thor's shit. Thor's stuff. Let Thor do it.
Because in the comic books he does that. He actually picks up Thor's hammer at one point.
Because he had to be convinced by the Black Widow that bringing everybody back to Earth was a good thing. That's why Chris Evans is a piece of shit.
Okay.
Well, I mean, right? She's like, we got a blip, and we should go check it out. And he's like, I saw a whale in the East River last week. The Earth's it's healing itself. And he was like, and she's like, what, you don't think we should bring everybody back? I didn't say that. Well, we have to go. If they had a chance to bring us back, they would. I know. He's like, he had to be convinced to go be a freaking superhero. Captain America.
Right.
By the freaking Russian. You talk about a company that's in turmoil, I think, talks out of one side but does another. Marvel, I think they're...
Well, the problem is they're owned by Disney.
Right. Which is turning out to be... It's like you're... No, we won't go there. I was going to get in our conversation we had before again. Well, I guess I already started a little bit with the Marvel thing, but that's why I'm really not excited to see much of the Marvel stuff that's coming out. Like I said before, I think I'm interested to see what they do with Blade.
I think if they, and this is how I always feel about any story. I can forgive that it's a Marvel movie or that it's being done by Disney as long as they get the right writer and the right director. Because I'm kind of a geek when it comes to certain writers and certain directors. I'm actually a super fan of a lot of these guys. I mean, I think Joss Whedon, when they had him doing the first two Marvel Avenger movies, I thought that was the perfect choice.
I didn't. Just because for me, I'm so hit and miss on his series. Like, I'm not a Buffy fan.
Right.
But I love Firefly.
Firefly's awesome.
But Dollhouse is bad. Porn. And so when they said he's going to do Avengers, I was like, it's a 50-50 toss-up for me. Mm-hmm. I was not excited.
It's still the best. The first Avengers was really awesome.
You know what, though? If you go back to that, there's only one thing that makes it awesome. One.
The Hulk thing?
Yeah, puny god.
Puny god.
And there's such a cartoon, Looney Tunes type of thing, and it was just like, that's the only thing I remember from that whole movie.
No, actually, all of it, a lot of it was great. I mean, I love it when Loki's there with the staff, and Robert Downey Jr. He's like, if you came to beg, you're blah blah blah, and he's like, no, I came to threaten you. And he's like, your team, is nothing. He's like, there's nothing you can threaten me with. And he's like, oh well, let's do the rundown. That whole speech was great. And then he's like, well, what are you going to do when they're, trying to stop you? And he touches him with the staff and nothing happens. Ting! And he's like, ting! He's like, this usually works. And he's like, well, performance anxiety and such. And he grabs him and he throws him out the window. It's great.
I don't even remember that. I haven't seen it again. Like I said, a lot of it just kind of, I didn't think about it.
Yeah, and then
I like
Taika Waititi or whatever his name is.
the two Guardians of the Galaxy movies the best.
They're really good.
And which is odd because they're like the least known characters out of all of it. For me.
Well, I read it when I was... It's funny because, my kids will ask me what my favorite character in Marvel is. And I've told them, many times that my favorite character nobody else seems to give a crap about. My favorite character is Beast.
Beast?
From the X-Men.
Interesting.
But my close number two, everybody else is all like, oh, Wolverine, blah, 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 blah. My favorite number two is Rocket Raccoon.
Rocket Raccoon, yeah.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
He's, I think I like mostly the characters that are super smart, but can still do stuff. And Rocket Raccoon, I'll put him against almost anybody in Marvel. Mm. I mean, sure, he's not going to fight him hand to hand, but he's going to fuck you up.
Which, and like I told Laura, we're watching Wanda. She goes, "What's that mean? What's that mean?" I go, "I really don't know. I don't have a lot of Avenger knowledge because I always thought those characters were weak and puny compared to the X-Men, compared to mutants.
Right.
And I didn't read. I've got very few Avenger type stories. Most of the biggest. I've only got about this much X-Men out of all that. I got 2 full boxes of comics, and so only about a third of one are X-Men, and then I've got tons of other stuff. But it's always 1s or 2s, 3s or 4s. The only other stuff I have that's kind of a little bit of a run, there was an older book called Warlord, old fantasy stuff, but it's a lot of 1s and 2s, 1s and 2s, 1s and 2s.
Right. But I think they did a real good job when they did Guardians of the Galaxy, showing what Rocket Raccoon is capable of.
Well, A, the music was amazing in them, and then B, like that first one, I remember walking out of there and saying, Rocket and Groot were Han Solo and Chewbacca. And I want to see that movie.
Right.
Just those two in a ship doing some crazy shit in the galaxy.
Yeah.
Because that's what they felt like to me. They felt that felt like the purest representation of Han and Chewie until Force Awakens with those two, and he's like, yes, I do every time. I was like, that just cracks me up.
But yeah, I mean,
so I'm looking forward to the third one, especially if Thor's in it. That's gonna be hilarious.
But yeah, I mean, I think it all comes down to the writer and the director. And
well, the writer, director, and unless there's I'm just worried about all the other crap that they have to shove into it. But
because who was it in the George Clooney Batman? Who was the director on that? Can't remember.
Michael Schumacher.
God,
not Michael Schumacher. Something Schumacher. Michael Schumacher. Joel Schumacher. Because Michael Schumacher drove Ferrari race cars. He was a race car driver. Joel Schumacher.
Man, that was the biggest mistake in history. Bet you everybody that hired him as the director went.
Well, he had done the third one, which was halfway decent. The Batman Forever, the one with Val Kilmer.
Was that with Val Kilmer? Okay.
Yeah, he did that one, but then he felt like he had to go bigger and more comic booky, and he wanted to bring the colors in and the campiness of the old show and some of that stuff. And
I don't think he should have.
No, well, in hindsight, we know he shouldn't have done any of that stuff.
Because the only thing that ever, the reason that the first Batman worked with Keaton, because, I was one of the people that thought, Michael Keaton, a 5'0" guy playing Batman who's supposed to be 6'5", that's a pretty hard sell. But the fact that he made such a dark world, because it was Tim Burton, it worked.
Right. Well, not just a dark world, but when you do an Elseworld.
Right.
So then you can take yourself out of that a little bit. Even with the last ones with Christian Bale, he still wasn't.
No, he's not huge.
He's still not the mass. And that's why when Affleck, holy crap, when he stands up and what's his name? And he stands up out of that car and Superman floats down in front of him, and you're just looking at him. He's just standing there. It's like, but the stones. I mean, of that that movie has such a lot of good stuff in it. It would be nice to see I think the Snyder cut, right? No, he did do that one, huh? But they need to do a full version because they cut a ton of stuff out of that.
Yeah.
Steppenwolf he was in it, but he was supposed to be in a lot more. But there's some good stuff. I don't mind. I wish that Affleck could still be Batman.
Well, aren't they doing a standalone movie? I've heard that they're doing a standalone movie.
Well, they're supposed to be doing the Snyder Cut for Justice League on HBO Max. It's on HBO for HBO Max. And then, as far as I understand, it's going to be like a 10-episode thing. So they're going to they're going to shoot a bunch of filler and stretch it out, I think is what they're going to do. Something like that. It seems to be changing all the time.
Yeah.
But I wanted to see, because those little shots of what Batman was doing in Gotham was like, oh, just give us more of that shit, man. That was just awesome.
Yeah. Yep.
And then the worst part about the Schumacher Batman was, because at the same time, I can't remember if the Batman animated cartoon was still on TV or it just ended. But it was still fresh in your mind that every one of those animated cartoons, not only did they peg the look of the characters, but the voice acting was just phenomenal.
Right.
And then they go and pick Schwarzenegger to be Freeze for the money.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when they had Patrick Stewart, or I think James Cromwell would have been.
Anybody would have been better than Schwarzenegger.
Not anybody, but I mean, those two I think would have been an amazing Freeze.
Well, and it's another thing that I think that they screwed up on, which is a common mistake of every idiot, whether it's on Marvel side or whether it's on DC side, when they make a movie. And it's like the third in a series, or it's, whatever in a series, they suddenly decide that there has to be more than one bad guy.
It's because he's too powerful. He needs to be
right.
Batman. They need more people to fight.
Right. So instead of just having one story, which the standalone Mr. Freeze story, just like the standalone Sandman story, they're great stories by themselves. And just like in that Peter Parker or the Spider-Man with the Sandman and Venom,
and the Hobgoblin,
it's like
gotta add Hobgoblin in there.
Why? Just do the Sandman story and do it right.
Just the Sandman or just the Hobgoblin?
Mm-hmm.
And you could have introduced Eddie Brock.
Yes.
Don't need to make him Venom.
Right.
But just, actually, all you could have done was had a guy who was trying to undercut him at work.
Right.
So, there is two villains, but one's on the civilian side and one's on the superhero side, right?
Right.
And it'd be like, there's your two villains.
Right. But like in that horrible Joel Schumacher Batman, they had what? The Riddler, Two-Face, Bane.
No, that's the third one. No, we had Bane, Poison Ivy.
Okay, but the Riddler wasn't in it.
No, that's the Val Kilmer one with the Riddler and Two-Face.
Oh, okay.
And so then Freeze, Poison Ivy, Bane.
There's got to be, wasn't there more? But yeah, they,
So to fight that, they had Batman, Robin, and Batgirl. Huh?
And Bane was ridiculous.
Yeah.
I mean, Tom Hardy's Bane is going to go down in history as being the best one by far.
Well, yeah.
What would happen if I took that mask off? Well, it would hurt. Yeah. I mean, his Bane was so much better. He got so big for that frickin' show.
Oh, yeah. You want a fun movie to watch, Find Bronson. That was a great movie.
Is what's the one where, is that the one where he plays twins?
No, that's the Cray brothers. That's Legends.
Yeah, Legends. That's a great movie. But you know, it's also a fun movie to watch, even though it's not just Tom Hardy. Have you seen Lawless?
Oh, that's the wrong one. Lawless?
Yeah, it's with him and what the hell's that kid's name? Played in Holes.
Oh, yeah, that one. Oh, that's the
What's his name?
Shia LaBeouf.
Shia LaBeouf, yeah.
Oh, that's the one where they're Kentucky
Yeah, Moonshiners.
Moonshiners, yeah.
Yeah.
Or something
That's a good
down
movie.
there. Yeah, that was a good movie. That's where he gets. That's a true that when he got sick, he actually survived that
Mm-hmm.
and then drowns.
Right. But yeah, what's funny is
Which one
what
was that one?
what was kind of neat about that scene where they were cutting his throat is they were doing it so damn slow.
Oh, it's horrible, right?
Instead of this nice little swick across the throat, it's like this sawing. You know, it was really
Oh,
quite
Batman
grotesque.
and Robin, 1987. Bane. Schwarzenegger comes up as the first person. Poison Ivy. Yeah. Guess it was just the three of them.
Uma Thurman.
Uma Thurman.
I mean, they had some big names.
That's so harsh. Look, and all the pictures. Oh, there's Bane way back there.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, there's no Bane. It was like, here's this one. There's no Bane. And Ivy's character, I don't know.
There's Bane.
The eyebrow thingy. Interesting. Makes me want to go watch Kill Bill.
Well, it's funny because I can't imagine taking pictures of all these characters and then sending it to a producer or whatever, and it's like, we need money to make this film, and not have the producer go, I'm not giving you shit. Like, this looks like the worst thing possible.
They probably did that with the right cast, and then he's like, no, we need to pump this up.
I can't imagine.
Have you thought about Arnold Schwarzenegger as Mr. Freeze?
And they're going to give him all one-liners.
Well, they were definitely getting more campy as they were going along. It's like, do that movie now with, like, you can imagine what that would have looked like if Nolan had done it.
Right.
I'm kind of interested to see what this new Batman movie is going to be like with the George Patton.
Oh, Pattinson or whatever.
Pattinson, yeah, Robert Pattinson.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I like the emo Batman, but I like the ferocity that he has.
I haven't seen anything about it.
Oh, you haven't? You ever seen the trailer?
Mm-mm.
I thought it was pretty interesting. But so I'm kind of interested in that. But just the casting alone, what you could have done with that movie would have been Cromwell as Freeze. You could have done Julianne Moore as Poison Ivy. That would be interesting.
Should be good. But I don't know. I mean,
actually, you could have done Halle Berry as her and not wasted her as Catwoman. You know what's sad is when you actually go back and you're like, maybe we were just too harsh on that movie. No. You go back and you try to watch and you're like, holy crap, this was horrible. I mean, just bad. Poor girl, she's like, that people have asked her about, she said, you can only work with what you got, I mean, the script you were given, and
there's a guy that I don't think that gets enough credit. I mean, for instance, you get Robert Downey Jr. and who was the director? What's his name?
Jon Favreau.
Jon Favreau basically worked together to put together that movie, Iron Man, the first one, and they didn't really even have a script. Everything was pretty much ad-libbed.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So they kind of wrote it together, just winging the whole thing. They had a general outline, basically, right? And so, the same thing can be said about Blade. The first Blade, everything was more or less created based on the comic book by, what's his name? Wesley Snipes. And, he did that also, and he redid it in the second movie, and I thought that was really good. Then that damn third movie comes out, and I guess they just took away all his power, and so he got really pissed off. Like, no, you have to listen to what the director says, and he's like, no! I created this shit.
That's because the second one I really like, but I don't think it did very well.
It didn't.
And I don't know why, because I think that's my favorite.
Yeah, and I don't understand it either, because there's some really horrendously gross shit in there that I thought was fantastic. Like when the Japanese guy pins that one of the Reapers to the wall, and it pushes its way out and just cuts itself straight down the middle and then crawls off into nowhere, and you're like, wow, that was really gross. Awesome.
Well, I thought the vampire rave, right? I had that person's back splayed open and was licking it. Mm-hmm. It's like somebody really thought of some crazy shit when they were designing that. That's...
Yeah, no, I mean, it is, it's kind of sad, when you get these guys that create these really detailed worlds and then, somebody comes along and craps all over it.
Yeah.
I mean, I had the same problem with, the Harry Potter stuff. I thought the first and second movies that were done by Christopher, whatever his name is, were great. And then, the third movie, they decided to take everybody out of the uniforms and put them in, Gap clothes or Abercrombie and Fitch clothes or whatever. Like, let's not call this it's Harry Potter and the Abercrombie and Fitch ad. Like, okay. But anyway. Where are they in buckle clothes?
Yeah, that's why I'm kind of interested in what they're going to do with the Blade movie.
The only thing that I'm not happy about is, you know me, I'm a martial arts nut, and so there's certain actors who can act and kick ass, and it's very rare to find, because you got actors that are, actors out there that can't deliver a line to save their life, but they look great kicking somebody's ass on film. But Wesley Snipes is one of those people that is the top of the game can deliver a line, can, do dramatic roles, do all this kind of stuff, and look great kicking the shit out of somebody. So I worry that the guy that they're getting won't have the fighting like Wesley Snipes had.
Hopefully he went and did his training.
I hope so too. Because, Blade, even in the comic books, is a martial arts character.
Yeah. Hopefully, because hopefully it'll be good martial arts instead of like Iron Fist.
Right.
Holy crap. The whole character is built upon martial arts, and it was some of the weakest martial arts stuff.
I know. It looked like crap.
I
Daredevil, in contrast to that, the TV show, holy crap, that was fun to watch. Because there's that one scene where he's fighting in the hallway and he's fighting like 6 guys. That was fantastic.
Oh yeah, that was
some of the best choreography I'd seen in a long time.
They did that, and so in your brain it's like, now we're gonna get Iron Fist
yes.
on that level.
Yes.
And it's gonna be
epic.
And
it wasn't.
And we got, wait, what?
A guy that was phoning in his lines.
Not just phoning in the lines, but I guess he was phoning in the training for the martial arts stuff too.
He didn't. He seemed to not give a shit about any of it. It's like, okay, well, we hired the wrong guy.
Isn't that sad when you realize that?
Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean,
I know somebody that wouldn't have phoned it in. He's not as good of an actor, I think, as him, but I think he would have
been a good fighter.
He would have taken the time to learn it. You know, he might not have been as fluid. Probably, you know, that's probably the hardest thing is finding the dancer.
Right.
But man, there's that kid from Vikings that plays Bjorn, the big one.
Yeah, but what's his name? Iron Fist doesn't need to be big.
No, it wasn't that he was big. It was just he just has, you know, kind of that look, and
right.
And I think he would have.
Right.
I think he's one of those guys that would
do his job.
Yeah. Who would have looked at it as the offer of a lifetime type thing, and then put everything he had into it.
Right.
It's like.
Because that's another thing that
I can do two things, you know.
That's another thing you can say about actors like Snipes and Robert Downey Jr. When he was given the go-ahead to become Iron Man, he threw everything into that.
Right.
That was, you know, his comeback vehicle, even though he didn't really need a comeback vehicle because he had already done Sherlock Holmes and stuff like that.
No, he hadn't done Sherlock Holmes yet.
Really?
No, that was after.
Oh, okay.
No, he just come off of Kiss Kiss Bang Bang.
Okay.
Which is
nothing.
A phenomenal movie.
Right.
But nobody knows about that. Not very many people know about how good that movie is. That's a awesome movie. But he just come off of Kiss Kiss Bang Bang and was needing something like this. Mm-hmm. Him, I think the two people I would say is it, and maybe half of a third is Robert Downey Jr. because it happened about the same time, and Hugh Jackman. You know, when Hugh got the Wolverine job, which was a last minute thing because right, he was told not to read the comics.
That would be the biggest mistake I feel like.
Well, no, yeah, they told because they didn't want. They were wanting to do their own version of it, right? Which was going to be shit. He said he went out and got every Wolverine comic he could get his hands on.
Yes, you can.
And he snuck in for the fans the bub.
Right.
When he's on top of that thing and he goes, "Okay, bub," or something like that. It's like that wasn't in the scripts. That was not in anywhere. They didn't want me using that. Nothing. He's like, I kept on using it though. Made them use the take.
Right.
Pretty much. It was like.
Right.
That's somebody understanding. And then the other only person I can think of who's really maybe done it was Benedict Cumberbatch.
Right.
Just because they were filming in New York City, you know, when they were doing the cut, and he knew that there was a comic book store around the corner, and when they had a break, he went to the comic book store.
Right.
Can you imagine?
Doctor Strange walking into a comic book store? Yes. That's awesome.
That would be, as a kid who loved comic books back then, I'd be like, and not just somebody dressed up as him, but that's Doctor
Strange, right?
Oh man, that would have been awesome. So, you know, those three guys, I say, like, have embraced the love of it, and I guess he has embraced it since then. But Hiddleston on Loki, he really loves that character. But these guys, like, I mean, they relished in the idea of playing these characters and fell in love with the character to the point where they really wanted to do it.
Yeah.
And you can see when people come to the source material like that. You can see it when the directors and the writers go to the source material, how much different the movies are. And look at Lord and Miller and what they achieved with Into the Spider-Verse. After watching Into the Spider-Verse, you kind of wonder, well, what the Solo movie would have been like if they would have been allowed to stay on it. Probably would have been better.
Yep.
Shoot, the Solo movie, I wouldn't mind just been Kira's movie, because I didn't like the idea of Han Solo growing up on the streets. I've always thought of him just as a guy who grew up normal house type thing, who got into the military, and pretty much my idea was him was Maverick from Top Gun.
Right.
After doing the flyby, getting kicked out. You know what I mean? After doing a flyby, he gets bugged down enough times,
right,
and then gets either gets washed out,
right,
or sees some atrocity happen that Chewie saves him,
right,
which makes him have to leave.
That was one of my favorite things about Firefly was when they explain who the captain is, and that he was on the losing side of the war, and just those scenes where the victory is their side is given up and he's just standing there in a battle that he's pretty much won, and he's just like, shit. Like, oh God, we've lost, what do I do now?
What do I do now? Persona non grata. Right? And then the to still wear the brown coat,
Yeah.
People get upset at the fanboys who grew up reading that shit, and when they see it get trashed, and they say it, and then you say, oh well, you're this or you're that for saying that. You're talking about people that were, for the most part, they weren't had a lot of friends, type thing, or they didn't have, those comic book characters were their friends, and then a lot of people got their values out of those comics, which that is not what comics are about today. That's like the last thing. Except some are starting to seem like they're trying to creep it back in. They're starting to realize that what they tried to do has been destroying the comic book company.
Right.
But they're still writing some of that shit. I still watch some videos where they're still writing that. It's like, oh my gosh.
Yeah. I think stories will always be important, no matter what version they take, whether it be movies, books, comic books.
Yeah, as long as you have the freedom to write them.
Yeah, no shit.
That seems to be, here we go again.
Freedom of speech, yeah.
Here we go again. But yeah, that's the problem, is going to be having the freedom to write them.
It's funny. As a world, technology for the longest time it helped us communicate. For instance, we invented the telephone, and it brought it made the world smaller. People could talk, to another country, and then with the internet, it made the world even smaller. And the fact that we could email each other and get on and chat with somebody, and even video link with somebody across the world. And but it seems like now you'd think that technology is helping all these people get together and like I said, making the world smaller. But it seems like now all that technology does is drive a wedge between everybody to where now nobody has friends. And because you said that these people that used to read comic books were the loner that was in the comic book store just flipping through comic books. It's like, yeah, you would think that over time that all these people would have tons of friends now, because you got Facebook and you got this and you got that. And no, and people are just as more lonely now than I think they were even back then.
To an extent. Yeah. Well, on that sad note.
Thank you for the depressing closing. Anyway, but yeah. So how many? We need to go to burnoutstudios.com. It's funny that I always have trouble saying that. I should have it as a, it should just come off my lips easily. burnoutstudios.com. Tell your friends, share, like,
comment. We'd love to see some comments down there.
Yeah.
I did get a few comments. I say that, and I got to be better at responding to them.
Mm-hmm.
I have gotten out to. I had a notification that Andrew asked me on one of my drawing videos.
Mm-hmm.
This guy named Andrew asked me for some books, and stuff. And I went to the video to find the comments, and there was no comments down there. So it's like
books,
for drawing.
Oh, okay.
And it was like, well, where's the comment? So I could hit reply. And so I ended up having to go to his YouTube page and then direct message it on there.
Oh, wow.
It was like, I don't know.
Yeah.
So I will try to be better at that stuff.
Yeah.
Try to. I don't turn on notifications for fear of waking people up. My wife's like, you didn't get my text. Well, yeah, and if I get a notification in the middle of the night and wake you up, I'm in trouble, right? Right? So it's like,
right.
Yeah. So I don't have them enabled. But. All right. Thank you. Have a good time. Later.
Good night.